Okay, so in this video, we're gonna make a pair of breeches for a woman. Last video we did the smock, and now a smock is considered for that time period. It's considered a piece of underwear. You wouldn't wear a smock on the outside. Well, at least if you're at a certain place in societies, for sure. Breeches as well were not things that you would see as outerwear. It was definitely underwear for again for people of like higher class, but for sure you would see breeches being worn as outer garments by peasants, by farmers, etc. That could definitely be a thing, as the dress codes didn't matter as much. But yeah, in high class, these were definitely seen as a pair of underwear. I still want to go over it though, because I think it's important to understand the construction and make of breeches, just because they kind of form a basis for historical clothing through the ages, and of course are kind of they're very similar to the pattern we have nowadays for trousers. More or less, you can see even the shape if you're familiar with the trouser pattern. It's very similar. Yeah, one of the things is we don't have a side seam as we would have on trousers nowadays. Um, on a modern pattern for a trouser, but you get a lot of the shaping for them, or at least the fit, so that they fit properly. You get a lot of that from the fact that they're gathered here at the waist. So other than that, there's not that much really going on. They have a drawstring at I guess it's right under the knee is where these would come to. They have this drawstring here that kind of create this gathering, and then it's tied up and it's good to go. So yeah, we're gonna go over this pattern quickly. We're gonna make it in CLO, and as always, we just start with just the basic model. And I see whenever you have a trouser pattern like this, you mostly want to start with the waistband and work from there. The waistband is always your kind of anchor, you could call it. So now I'm mostly happy with the fit. I think actually we need a little bit more gathering around the waist because I think they would balloon a lot more. But I did two things here. So when we look at the pattern that we have, a lot of this, by the way, is from Janet Arnold's books on historical pattern drafting. They're very, very good. Basically, in this pattern, we see line here is pretty flat. It's got a slight curve, but it's pretty flat. And the other thing we see is the angle of these lines as opposed to the crotch opening in the back and the front. What I'm trying to do most when I do these is to follow the shape. Like my go-to is always the final shape. I always want to get to the final shape, and I want to use the pattern just as like something to direct me with the techniques that they were using in the pattern drafting techniques. So a lot of this, I think her methodology was to, when she would go to these archives, is to simply try to trace as much as possible the pattern, because you can't, these are historical kind of artifacts. You can't just take them apart and lay them flat on a table to see exactly the measurements. Now the pattern here has a lot of gathering here and a lot of kind of gathering here, and this looks to me like if you lay this flat, you get this kind of pattern here, but I think as soon as you ease this out and you flatten this out at the just under the knee, I think this angle is a lot, it kind of opens up a lot more. So again, I'm always kind of thinking about what I want to achieve with the technique that's like historically appropriate, but ultimately the final shape is what's important. And the reason why I did this kind of curve here is so that we don't get the bunching up at the end seam when we have this one flat. So let's just, when we do this, immediately we have these kind of, this imbalance that pulls everything to the outside, and you get these kind of lines here. I can imagine, and I know in historical costuming I've seen stuff that does have this, and it would be accurate for some pieces you get during the time. I'm not sure how much they cared about that, or I'm not sure how much they saw that as bad fitting or not, because that's definitely, like, we see it as bad fitting nowadays, but I don't know if they had those kind of thoughts back then. But looking at these, you can kind of tell you wouldn't get that, and the way it's painted here, you're definitely not getting those kind of folds. Now this is a painting, it's not a picture, so in paintings a lot of times sometimes they simplify things, sometimes they Photoshop things, quote unquote, because they're trying to make the things look as good as possible. But still, I'll follow this as the example that I'm trying to get to. So this is why I'm curving it this way, and this wouldn't necessarily be wrong. If you're gathering it over there anyway and you're trying to get volume, it doesn't really matter. Wow. Jesus Christ, that was so painful. I need to save right away. That was so painful. Jesus Christ. So yeah, here's how those came out, and they look pretty good to me. Again, this is just in the enclosed render engine, and I gave them the CLO stock velvet velvet fabric, which is like a cotton stretch velvet. Um, but I mean, yeah, they look fine. They look good. It's nothing really crazy because it's one of the simpler types of garments that we're gonna cover. I think all these early garments that we're looking at are all kind of simple, and there's nothing way too crazy about them. So, but it's important to kind of go over them because they kind of offer the foundation for everything that we'll look at later when we get into like doublets, when we get into like the bigger gowns, when we get look into like the evolution of breeches. It's important to get the basic structure down, and that's why like this era is very very good. Like the early Renaissance is because you're getting a lot of you're getting a lot of the basic stuff that was in the Middle Ages, but you're starting to see it kind of morph into what comes later. But yeah, you can see this looks very nice. Even the gathering around the cuff of the under the knee looks very nice. I like how my little bow ties came out too, even though it pained me to do them because they're very very difficult in CLO3D. But yeah, that's about it for this one, and this is gonna be one of the last kind of simple garments that we're gonna do. Next we have plunder hose and a very early form of corsets, which is called a stay. So those we're gonna start getting into some more complex type of garments. But yeah, that's kind of it for the breeches, and next time we're gonna do plunder hose. So yeah.